ABC 15 is working to keep you informed on the Greer fire this morning. A state of emergency has been declared as high winds have fueled the flames throughout the night. Now, at last check, that fire had burned more than 7,000 acres with no containment.
We do have team coverage for you this morning, from road closures to the latest weather conditions. But first, we do want to check in with ABC 15's Jordan Bonke, who's been on the ground there for more than 24 hours. Jordan, we know the winds have died down, but you were saying earlier it's still been hard to breathe.
The wind's being a little bit lower today, and I mean a lot lower. We were leaning up against it yesterday. Hard to talk when winds were that intense, over 40 miles an hour. It's virtually no wind today, but what that has left behind here is all of that incredible smoke that was just billowing out of those mountains about 10 miles from where that Greer fire is. This is near the community of Eager and Springerville. You can see just how thick that smoke is. You really can't even make out where the mountain ridge is itself. And Highway 260 still closed, even closed further than what it was yesterday. You know, we heard from residents and we heard from community leaders, multiple of them. They say they know that a wildfire like this is part of living here, but they could use a little help with forest mitigation.
When you come to Greer, you expect to leave with a photo like the one Cinda Howard is used to taking. She owns Flyfish Arizona and beyond, helping visitors see all of eastern Arizona's piney peaks and its unique game and fish.
And it is the fear you have living on the mountain all the time.
But instead of taking pictures of Apache trout, these are the photos that she took when she evacuated earlier this week as the Greer fire grew. A fire that already destroyed several structures in Greer and causing evacuations across Greer, Northwoods, South Fork, and beyond.
The Forest Service has done with thinning and, controlled burns. You hope that that is what's going to save you. But we know it's definitely a risk of living where we live.
This has been my biggest fear for months now because we're so dry this year. We're drier than we were in 2011.
Springerville Mayor Shelley Reedhead remembers what the 2011 Wallow Fire did to her community. More than 500,000 acres accidentally started by two men camping. Years later, the two men were ordered to pay more than $3 million in restitution. State officials say that 2011 burn scar typically slows down a wildfire, but the 40-plus mile-an-hour winds just kept the Greer fire burning. And Mayor Reedhead says before all this,
I want them to hear my message.
She's been asking Arizona lawmakers for help with forest mitigation.
I want them to listen to the local government and actually hear us and close our forests and help us manage it. You know, we haven't logged it since the early 80s, and we're just primed and ready for a huge forest fire.
All right, a couple of things here. Because the winds are not as intense as they were yesterday, air resources for the state fire officials helping trying to contain this fire, those will be a little bit more in use. Winds are expected to kick back up this weekend. For folks that are in this community, they're going to want to keep their doors closed, their windows closed, look for an air purifier because the air quality out here is not good. Jorge, I know you want to mention, I wanted you to chime in a little bit more on what the air quality's like and what the winds look like, as you may even be headed up in this direction.
Yeah, well, Jordan, you did mention that the winds are not as much of a concern today, but this weekend it could be a different story. And obviously the air quality is going to be a major concern for residents, not just here in eastern Arizona, but in western New Mexico as well, as that smoke will drift to the east with the upper level winds guiding it that way. So here's a look at the smoke forecast for the rest of the day today. You notice how you get those darker colors, the reds and the purples. That indicates unhealthy air quality for anyone who's in the vicinity. That includes you, Jordan. So I'd recommend an N95 or a gaiter if you have one, or a mask to keep yourself safe, and our photographer Chad. As we look through the rest of the day today, you can see that smoke plume begin to drift to the east right along Highway 60, heading toward eastern parts of Arizona there in Apache County, and eventually western parts of New Mexico. So this will be a concern over the next several days, especially as we do expect the winds to die down, so that smoke will just kind of loft for a bit. But we'll talk more about what's in store regarding our next potential fire danger event coming up in your full forecast. But first, we got to check on how the roads are looking near the fires. So for that, we have Nick and Kaylee and Megan telling us what to expect.
Many road closures is what you're talking about, Megan.
Yeah, so here's what's happening over the last day or two, Nick and Kaylee. We've seen more restrictions come into place over the last day or so with this fire as it continues to grow, right? They've had to block off more spots to make sure everybody stays safe in this firefight and those who are living in and around this community. So here's where we stand here this morning. The SR 260 in both directions. This is closed between milepost 380 and 394. Then on top of it, we've got other closures in place too in this particular area. Let's zoom in at the southbound direction of the 373. That is closed between milepost 385 and 390. And the newest one right here is the SR 261. The southbound direction is also closed at milepost 412. Of course, we have no idea how long those closures are going to remain in place for. Nick, once we have any updates, any restrictions, we're going to see something reopen, that's good news for you. We'll have that ahead for you in just a little bit, you guys.
Yeah, I know you'll continue to update us, Megan.